Video stories meant simply to entertain with little obvious branding. Ads that weren't ads, if you like. And they were often wildly popular.
We thought, we could, in a very small way, make funny little videos, send them out, and people would email them around. They would go viral. That was a term that had already started thanks to Malcolm Gladwell and his book, The Tipping Point. And millions of people would see them. It would be great, and it would be cheap, and it would be entertaining.
Describe for me, if you will, one or two of your favourites.
So there's one I really like for a washing machine. The client was Samsung, where a photo shoot is taking place in the snowy wastes of Canada for a washing machine, and a bear appears.
Hey guys, we've got company. Let's just move away from Sam.
It's a bear. It's a bear.
It's fine. We're fine.
And everyone sort of retreats, and you've got a ranger with a rifle saying, "Don't panic, don't panic."
Let's just give the bear a minute. He's got to move on. Just let the bear be.
And the bear wanders up to the washing machine, sort of sniffs at it, stands up, and then takes its fur off, revealing a sort of teddy bear character in boxer shorts underneath, and sticks it in the washing machine.
Whoa, thanks to a bit of primitive CGI.
Thanks to an amazing bit of film, Hollywood-level quality CGI, which we paid very little for. It's entertaining, it's funny, but the reason I'm really proud of it is because it was for a washing machine. And I honestly, hand on heart, don't think anyone had ever made an entertaining ad for a washing machine before that time. How many washing machines it sold is a really tricky question. And it's something that used to bother us a lot, which was that we never really knew what kind of impact we were having on the bottom line. But it turns out in advertising agencies that that's quite often the case.
That old problem again. When do ads actually help to sell products? It is a constant theme for us.
Your research suggests that banks are somewhat reluctant to lend to some businesses if there aren't physical, tangible assets like properties and plant there in the background. Is the banking sector the problem? Is that what you're saying?
It's certainly a big part of the problem, and any business person knows that banks love lending against security. Intangible assets are great for business effectiveness, but they're not great for security. So that partly means banks need to think again about their lending practices, but it also means there's an even more important role for equity finance, whether that's public equity or venture capital and risk capital.
And that's a really, really good point because, certainly asset managers here in the UK have long shied away from intangibles. There's a big debate about how you even account for them and so forth. So it's the asset managers that you need to change the mindset of as well, presumably.
I think you're totally right. There's a big role for institutional money managers to think, how can we make sure we value these intangible rich businesses? And how do we make sure we can put our savers and our investors' money towards these big growth opportunities?
Put this into an international context for me, if you would, please. Obviously, the US has been much, much better at investing in these sort of businesses than we have traditionally, even probably some parts of Europe. How do we address that?
I think we can really learn. Obviously, we can learn from the US that's been good at backing these companies and good at putting institutional money towards them. But there are smaller economies that make this work as well. The Nordic countries have always been very strong in this. Countries like Israel, countries like Taiwan, countries like Singapore. There's a number of places where institutional investors and governments get this. And I think we can learn from all of them.
The problem is, whilst your research is excellent, and I have had a look at it, the timing is not great, is it, with this massive tech sell-off going on in the United States? UK fund managers are probably more likely than ever to fight shy of some of these businesses.
You're absolutely right. And obviously the danger with equity investments is there are always market dips and market peaks. But I think what's interesting from our research is we're taking a very long-term view. And if you look over multiple years, even with the downturn we've seen in tech stocks in the last few months, intangible stocks generally have massively outperformed. And I think that's, if you're thinking about pension investing, if you're thinking about that kind of long-term questions of economic performance or managing money for savers, that's what we have to focus on.
And of course, this actually boils down to a very grassroots level as well, because it also affects the ability in some cases of startups to raise capital.
Absolutely. This is crucial for startups. And your classic tech startup or your consumer startup is absolutely an intangible business. And it's no surprise that for the most part, they can't turn to banks for finance and they have to go to the venture capital sector or to exotic forms of funding like crowdfunding. Banks are not doing the job for them.
Stephen, very important piece of research this. I'm glad we've had time to talk about it with you today. Thanks for joining me.
Thank you.
Well, still to come here on Ian King Live. We'll have a look at how global markets are doing this Wednesday morning. Don't go away.
Sheet of flame, and it's moving this way.
And over there is Dover.
We track the changes happening to our world right now.
I think it's a procession of the Taliban. There they are, right here.
Would you, as Prime Minister, be able to look them in the face?
Let's have a look at both of those two things.
I just want to say thank you for having the courage to speak to us.
We do genuinely believe in what we do, to show the truth.
I thought there was an astonishing story there.
Welcome back. Now, Hollywood Bowl, the UK's largest 10-pin bowling operator, has returned to the black after its centres were allowed to reopen following the end of lockdown restrictions. Well, the company, which also owns the Starr's mini golf brand, reported a pre-tax profit of £33.4 million for the 6 months to the end of March. That compared with a loss of £14.5 million in the same period a year ago, but it was also up 52% on the same period before the pandemic. Well, joining me now is the Chief Executive of Hollywood Bowl, Stephen Burns. Stephen, welcome to you. I mean, clearly you've enjoyed a great deal of pent-up demand that accumulated during the lockdown. Is that fully sated yet, or is there more to come?
I'd like to think there's more to come, although I think we've had probably the most of it. I think when we cast our minds back to the post-pandemic period, our customers were stuck in the UK, with most international travel being cancelled. There wasn't the strongest film slate. A lot of the smaller operators were slow to reopen their doors. So we were in a fantastic position to capitalise on that opportunity, which is reflected in the results that we posted today.
All right. Stephen, I'm going to have to cut into the interview. Please do bear with me for a moment. We've got a bit of breaking news to bring the viewers, which is we've had a statement from the Cabinet Office on the Sue Gray report. Our political correspondent, Tamara Cohen, is at Downing Street now and can tell us more.
Ian, I can confirm the Sue Gray report has arrived in Downing Street after some toing and froing this morning with the Cabinet Office, who of course are doing the handing over, have provided a statement. A Cabinet spokesperson says we can confirm that Sue Gray has provided her final report to the Prime Minister. So they've got it, they're digesting it, and of course at some point today we will see it. We expect the Prime Minister will be giving a statement to Parliament on it this afternoon. The House of Commons has confirmed that they expect that today. So Prime Minister's questions at midday, then probably a statement on this report, and then a press conference later this afternoon. So they are digesting it, the details, potentially the pictures, how damaging is it for the Prime Minister, for senior members of the civil service, and what will be the fallout. It won't be long until we know.
OK, Tamara, thanks for that. Right, back to Stephen Burns from Hollywood Bowl. Stephen, thank you for being so patient there. I mean, you benefited from a temporary VAT rate for hospitality during the last financial year. How has consumer behaviour changed since the reintroduction of VAT at 20%?
Well, I mean, we didn't make any changes to our pricing, Ian. So we've tried to keep our prices as competitive as possible during the period. 72% of all of our revenue is actually fixed in terms of a cost, given that bowling and amusement revenues are broadly 100%, 77% GP respectively. So we have been in a fantastic position of being able to keep our pricing very similar to where we were in 2019. And actually, on a food point of view, we're 11% cheaper than we were when we were trading in 2019. So we've done our best to try and make sure our customers aren't affected by the inflationary pressures that they may be feeling elsewhere.
You're cheaper on food. How have you managed that, given all of the rising input costs?
Well, we actually changed the structure of our menus. I mean, casting your mind back to where we were during the lockdown period, we were closed, then we were open, we were closed again. We were seeing huge amounts of wastage in our foods, and it was very difficult to try and predict how we were going to be trading. So we actually simplified the food offer quite significantly in our offerings. Only 9% of our revenue comes from food. You know, people don't ordinarily come to eat with us when they come bowling. So we were able to make our food a bit more of a simpler product, but nevertheless serve it a lot quicker with higher levels of consistency, and as a consequence reduce the pricing on it quite significantly. Our customers really valued that change, so we decided to keep it in the post-COVID environment.
And how about labour costs? Obviously, it's a tight labour market right now. Have you had to pay more in wages?
Yeah, I mean, it's probably the single biggest challenge, really, for us. I mean, hospitality team members haven't benefited in the same way that office workers have. You know, you can't work from home when you work in hospitality, and you've not benefited from the savings that you've made in commute time. There's less flexibility with hours, and as a consequence, people are leaving the hospitality industry. So we've had to work really hard to attract and retain top talent. We actually increased our salaries by 5.7% for our team members in the year, as well as introducing much richer bonus schemes, as well as focusing on the top talent programs that we've got in place. And so actually, as a consequence, we have 15% more team members now than we had in 2019. But it is a key area for us to attract and retain top talent.
Now, you're pressing ahead with refurbishments of the estate. Typically, how much does a refurbishment cost, and what does it involve?
So we normally spend between £400 and £500,000 on a centre refurbishment, and then £3 million on a new site opening. And what we do is we refurbish all of the areas that the customers sort of see and touch. I mean, large parts of our centres are bowling lanes, which we are always looking after and refurbishing on a monthly basis. So when we do redo the refurbishments, £400 to sort of £500,000 is quite a transformational change. We also introduce lots of new customer touch points, so improved digital journey, new scoring systems, a slightly more interactive experience for our customers, and then using all of the things that we learn from each refurbishment that we do. So we do 7 to 9 refurbishments a year, and we do something different in every one of them, so that by the time we come back around to a refurbishment of a site that's already had one, so it tends to be around a 5 to 7 year cycle, it's a wholly incremental change that our customers then experience.
And what about the pipeline for new openings? What are you looking at?
We've got a pipeline of 12 to 14 sites over the next 3 years, with those that are actually signed that we will be opening up. And then we recently made an acquisition in Canada of 5 centres, the Splitsville bowling brand, which again has given us another opportunity for medium to long-term growth.
All right, Stephen, we've got to leave it there, I'm afraid. Good to talk to you this morning. Thanks for being so patient with us.
Thanks, Ian.
Still to come here on Ian King Live. We will get to the markets eventually, and I'm also going to be speaking to the Chief Executive.
Welcome to Gabby Dave Global. We are a UK-based online e-commerce store, the first of its kind with license to trade in African products. Some of the products are clothing brands and all beauty accessories, hair and beauty brands, natural aphrodisiacs, processed and dried unprocessed food. Our mission at Gabby Dave is to connect African and Caribbean businesses to customers globally. At Gabby Dave, we ensure our sellers get the best deal for their products. We are not just here to help you reach a wider audience. We are also a distribution center to support business growth by fulfilling orders to your customers from our warehouse. making sure customers receive their products on time. We are inviting all Black-owned businesses to trade on our platform because we strongly believe Africans have a unique brand the customer would appreciate globally. So get in touch today and let us make your product and business go far. Here are some of the benefits of using Gabby Dave Global. User-friendly platform, track your shipment, online support, transparent process, multiple SKUs, multiple products, a platform that encourages manufacturers as well as traders. Our marketing and PR interventions amplifies yours. Organized products and categories for easy access and navigation. Access to global community, especially within UK and Europe.
Our exchange rates are excellent. You can see for yourself by checking them out on our website. So how do you use SendWave? SendWave is an app that you can download onto your phone from the App Store or Google Play Store. The app is free to download. After downloading it, just open the app and enter your name, email, and phone number. That's it. You're good to go. Make sure you use the promo code SR. S for Starr, R for Radio. This promo code will give you £5 free credit to send to Africa on your first transaction. Your money will be delivered to your recipient within seconds. Feel free to call me on 0749 7377 647 at any time. I'll be happy to tell you all about SendWave and help you in any way I can. Remember to use the promo code SR for £5 free credit.
Getting onto the property ladder has never been easy until now. Join us this and every Thursday from 7 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. live on the Property Hour show on Starr Radio UK, where we talk to mortgage brokers, property developers, estate agents, landlord, tenant, property consultants on how to invest or get into the property business and make money. You can't afford to miss this. The Property Hour show is your best source into the property industry.
Hi everyone, it's your girl BB Clemens, the author of How to Go From Employee to Entrepreneur and the host of your weekly business show, BB Means Business, the show where we discuss everything you ever wanted to know about business but you were afraid to ask. How do I start my business? How do I raise the finance? How do I grow my business? Where am I going to find my customers? Join me every Tuesday at 1:30 p.m. on Starr Radio UK to get all the information and tips that you need to become a successful entrepreneur and become financially free. Remember, don't let life dictate to you. Rather, put your signature on life.
Are you looking for the fastest, reliable, and trustworthy door-to-door shipment company? Well, look no further. When was the last time your family received a shipment back in Ghana on time and in time? You are not sure? Well, Lamb Shippers, we pride ourselves with being the fastest, reliable, and trustworthy shippers you can use. You are assured of a prompt pickup anywhere in the UK by our personnel. They also make sure your items are well packaged to get to its destination in time. When it comes to door-to-door shipment, look no further. Well, Lamb Shippers, contact us on 07939009321 or 07498911820. Or you can visit our website www.welllamp.co.uk. You can also drop us a mail, info@welllamp@gmail.com. Well Lamp Shippers, fast, reliable, and trustworthy.
Hi there. Are you dreaming of owning your own house in Ghana? Then you will need a well-documented piece of land that is free from troubles. I highly recommend My Africa Property for any size of land that you will need. With My Africa Property, lands are available in Pram, Sopoli, Tohenia, Ogome, Dodova, Winneba, and many other locations at affordable prices. These locations are about an hour away from the airport, only 35 minutes from the motorway, 10 minutes drive from Central University College, 10 minutes drive to the beach, and close to Pram Senior High School and Ghana Men's Soccer Center of Excellence. For more details, visit our website www.myafricaproperty.com or call our UK office on 0208 123 2523. For our US and Canada offices, call us on +1 585 184 994145. You can also email us at ghana@myafricaproperty.com.
All around the world.
Hi there, this is CJ Buckman, your life coach. And whenever I'm in London, I listen to Star Radio UK right here. But guess what? You can listen to wherever you are.
Show them you got the Coco set. Ladies and gentlemen, it's your boy Harry Song, aka Mr. Songs. This is the Kingmaker Baba for the girls. We're here. This is Star Radio. Don't go nowhere. UK. London. We call them London for home. For here, we call them London. And that's how you know. Just have fun and stay blessed.
The best radio show. Broadcasting worldwide online 24/7.
In your car.
At work.
At home.
On your smartphone.
This is Star Radio UK.
Are you ready to turn it up? 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Your heart is aching. Smile even though it's breaking. When there are clouds in the sky, you get by. If you smile through your fear and sorrow, smile and maybe tomorrow you find that life is still worthwhile if you just smile. Hey, this is Archie and you are listening to Star Radio UK and
Welcome.
This is Star Radio UK.
Broadcasting worldwide online 24/7.
Enlighten your day with Starr Radio.
This is Star Radio UK.
Broadcasting worldwide online 24/7.
Yes, hello, good morning and welcome to Star Radio UK, your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London. Today is the 25th day of May, the year 2022. With the time now, 10:39 from the hearts of London. Let me bring you my normal salutation. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good dawn to you, wherever you might be on planet Earth, and those of you on other planets as well. We want to welcome you to the Wednesday edition of the morning show. To my colleagues, Mr. Frank Davis, Mr. Laimi Koiki Kojo D, and the one and only able producer, Mr. Francis Guy. I salute you all, gentlemen. To Felix, all the way in Aberdeen, Mr. Kofi Ali Abdul Yakin, Mr. Malik Dramani Mahama, Mr. David Kluche, and all you guys who listen to us. Dr. Morton, Master, good morning to you. All presenters of Star Radio UK, I salute each and every one of you. Vicky, I hope you are doing very, very well. Empress Regina Nima, And Lady C, I hope you're all doing good. All right then. I remain yours sincerely, the one and only.
This is the morning show with Archie.
Playing in the background, something from the late Papa Yankson. It says, Jimmy, save me. So you can do so by sharing the broadcast with your friends and loved ones and invite them to like our pages as well. Let me say a special good morning also to our listeners in the Americas, those of you in Europe, those of you in Asia, those of you in Australia, and on the African continent, namely Nigeria. Tassino, good morning to you in Moscow. Amayo, good morning to you in Nigeria. And then to Anthony Adedeji, massive good morning to you, sir. And to our listeners in Ghana as well, salute each and every one of you. And then all the way in South Africa, massive good morning to you. Let me say a special good morning too. Our listeners in Uganda, just Taser Radio, wherever you all are the presenters there, we salute each and every one of you. Now you can download our apps, the Starr Radio UK app, which you can listen and watch us live on. Go to your app store, just look for Starr Radio Global. It'll pop up. Download it, it is for free. However, we are broadcasting live on TuneIn and all the social media platforms as well. Name it, from archaeology to zoology, from Accra to Zanzibar. Okay, no. Well, the Wednesday edition of the morning show has got its own special way that the program flows. So if it's the first time of tuning in to listen to us, let me tell you how the program will go today. Let me say a special good morning to Mrs. Jocelyn Obing. My dear sister, hope you are doing very well. And good morning to Mr. Obing as well. Okay, so I'm going to bring you the quote for the day. The weather forecast will follow soon, then the travel updates will follow. From there, we'll have a look at some of the stories making the rounds across the globe, known as Global Trotting. Then at 11 o'clock, we'll bring you updates from Nigeria. It'll be a swift one because it is a Wednesday edition of the morning show. We continue with the chat, looking at other stories making the rounds in other parts of the world. Exactly at 11:30, the lines are open for you to add your voice to the discussions. Then at 12 o'clock, we take you straight to the Houses of Parliament or the Houses of Commons for the Prime Minister's question time. So in the gist, that's what is going to be happening today. So wherever you are, stay tuned. Don't even think of touching the dial. Continue to enjoy that tune in the background. Jimmy, save me. Okay, so hitting on. Yes. The quote from the day says, persistence is very crucial if you will succeed. Persistence is very crucial if you will succeed. Because most of us, when we hit a bit of a break or a slow jam and then we decide to back off, but you don't give in, you just throw in the towel. You persist. I like one team in Ghana. My team back in the day was with Ghana. That's the team that I supported. Accra House of Folk. We never say die until the bones are rotted. Alright then. So, be persistent. Alright then, so now let's crack on to the weather front. It's a mixture of the weather for you today. But those of you in London and the southeast of England, this is how the weather is going to be. Well, it will continue largely overcast with a few light showers possible in the early afternoon. Now turning dry with cloud breaking towards the evening, allowing for some late sunshine. It's going to be staying windy as well. The overnight period will see most of the cloud dissipate. A few patches of cloud will linger in places, but overall, it will be a dry and largely clear night. Temperature is going to be 17 degrees, the low is going to be 11 degrees. Pollen level is going to be low, UV level is going to be low, pollution is going to be low as well. Sunset 20:59, sunrise for tomorrow morning 04:56 hours. That brings us to the end of the weather forecast for you today. So Starr Radio UK, your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London. Okay, we're going to be going on to have a look at what your travels is like this morning. So stay tuned, don't you go away, don't you worry, I'm going to bring you some other songs as well during the course of the program. But for now, let's quickly hit the roads and let me tell you what is going to happen after this short commercial break.
Tune in to On Point here on Starr Radio UK with Empress Regina every Monday at 5 p.m. GMT. Looking forward to your company.
Check it out. Keep your eyes on the road. Keep your eyes on the road.
This is Starr Radio UK.
Big shout out to all the people in Africa.
Okay, so keep your eyes on the roads, I'll keep you navigated. I promise I'll born the Starr Radio Travel Update that comes to you every weekday from 10:40. It's now 10:46. And how is your travels like? You want to share with us wherever you are across the globe? Feel free to do so, because we've got a worldwide listenership. Okay, so on the underground here in London, yes, good service throughout. When it comes to the TFL Rail DLR London Traveling, good service there as well. However, the London Overground have got severe delays due between Highbury and Islington and New Cross, West Croydon, Crystal Palace, Clapham Junction due to an earlier signal failure at Dalston Junction. Good service on all other routes. But keep your eyes on the roads, and we keep you navigated. Now moving on straight to the major roads in London, we've got about a couple of incidents there. Let me bring you away quickly. Now A4 and Central London Red routes have got closure. That aside, all the others, no exceptional delays. But keep your eyes on the roads. Now let's move on to the river bus. On the river bus, as you know, good service throughout, apart from the Woolwich Ferry that has got a special service. Now, on the final segment of the travel update, that's the National Rail. On the National Rail this morning, C2C has got special service cross-country, minor delays, First Trans-Pennine Express, special service, Northern Rail, special service, and Transport for Wales, special service there as well. And this is why I say once again, well. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good dawn to you, wherever you might be on planet Earth. Enjoy your commute for today, but you know what? Continue to keep those eyes on the roads.
Hi guys, this is your friend Uruj from SendWave. SendWave is a money transfer app that is used by people all over the world to send money to their loved ones in Africa. With SendWave, you can send money to Ghana, Nigeria, Kenya, Uganda, and Tanzania. And the best part is, SendWave is absolutely commission-free. Our exchange rates are excellent. You can see for yourself by checking them out on our website. So how do you use SendWave? SendWave is an app that you can download onto your phone from the App Store or Google Play Store. The app is free to download. After downloading it, just open the app and enter your name, email, and phone number. That's it. You're good to go. Make sure you use the promo code SR. S for Star, R for Radio. This promo code will give you £5 free credit to send to Africa on your first transaction. Your money will be delivered to your recipient within seconds. Feel free to call me on 0749 7377 647 at any time. I'll be happy to tell you all about SendWave and help you in any way I can. Remember to use the promo code SR for £5 free credit.
Getting onto the property ladder has never been easy until now. Join us this and every Thursday from 7 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. live on the Property Hour show on Starr Radio UK, where we talk to mortgage brokers, property developers, estate agents, landlord, tenant, property consultants on how to invest or get into the property business and make money. You can't afford to miss this. The Property Hour show is your best source into the property industry.
Hi everyone, it's your girl BB Clemens, the author of How to Go From Employee to Entrepreneur and the host of your weekly business show, BB Means Business, the show where we discuss everything you ever wanted to know about business but you were afraid to ask. How do I start my business? How do I raise the finance? How do I grow my business? Where am I going to find my customers? Join me every Tuesday at 1:30 p.m. on Starr Radio UK to get all the information and tips that you need to become a successful entrepreneur and become financially free. Remember, don't let life dictate to you. Rather, put your signature on life.
Are you looking for the fastest, reliable, and trustworthy door-to-door shipment company? Well, look no further. When was the last time your family received a shipment back in Ghana on time and in time? You are not sure? Well, Lamb Shippers, we pride ourselves with being the fastest, reliable, and trustworthy shippers you can use. You are assured of a prompt pickup anywhere in the UK by our personnel. They also make sure your items are well packaged to get to its destination in time. When it comes to door-to-door shipment, look no further. Well, Lamb Shippers, contact us on 07939009321 or 07498911820. Or you can visit our website www.welllamp.co.uk. You can also drop us a mail, info@welllamp@gmail.com. Well Lamb Shippers, fast, reliable, and trustworthy.
Broadcasting worldwide, online 24/7.
All around the world.
Everywhere you go, Afrobeat reggae dancehall taking over. Everywhere you go, Afrobeat reggae dancehall taking over. Yo, what's up, people? This is a boy Raskin Bobo One. Tune in every day, every night at the Starr Radio UK with the big man them Archie. When I say order, you say fire.
Okay, welcome back to the program. It is Starr Radio UK, 8 minutes to the top of the hour at the time, and it is the Wednesday edition of the morning show. As I said, it's only at 12 o'clock. The first part of the program will be brought to a close, and we take you to the Houses of Commons for the PMQ. That is the Prime Minister's question time. So make a date, don't you go away. But for now, share the broadcast with your friends and loved ones and invite them to like our pages as well. But let's go global trotting. Well, some stories making the rounds across the globe. They are starting from Nigeria, where I'll be bringing you updates in the next few moments. The gunmen abducts 2 priests, others in Sokoto Catholic Diocese. That's one of the stories making the rounds there as well. Abari Bey withdraws from governorship race to announce next move. What is his next move? We'll be telling you more about that. Trust me, we'll be telling you more about that. The AU and the ASU are saying that, you know what, we are still on strike and describe the resumption order as a hoax. We'll be bringing you more on that front. To what end? But it's all coming away from Starr Radio. You get it. The Bauchi community stakeholders petition President Buhari over insecurity. So that's some sort of stories we're going to be touching on. There are a few more that will be coming your way. Starr Radio UK. Mahama Inusafaseni pop up in documents on Achimota Forest Reserves. You know, interestingly, politicians, they are very interesting people. The moment you're pointing finger at them that you've done this, you've done it, they try to go find some dirt quickly, go and dig some dirt out and say, yes, you also did something like this on some time back, and then yeah, that's how they do it. But well, interestingly, let me see. Okay, Sister Anita, you seem to be calling me. I will call you back. Okay, now, so what is that story about? I'll be bringing you more on that case and open his case. Someone doctor treating sick witness to testify. That's what the justice is saying. Are we going to get a judiciary now turning the whole thing and doing something different from what we've been seeing them do? Well, no monkeypox detected in Western region. Ghana Health Service is saying a charity begins at home. Comply with asset declaration law. Speaker tells MPs. Would that happen at all? Well, we know he who goes to equity must go with a clean hand. But when it comes to our part of the world, well, if you want to go to equity, you have to go with a very, very dirty hand so that you can actually cover everything as people don't see it. And you say, yes, I came here to sort things out. By the time they leave, it's more so opaque that you cannot see nothing through it. Well, that seems to be the trend of events in Africa. Okay, we'll be bringing you more on that front as well. Now, interestingly, one priest who was a critique of the Mahama administration has now come to, people have been bashing him, said, Professor Mate, where are you? He's not been speaking, he's been quiet. He said, you know what now? I use text messages. So he's been texting, because you are not on his text group, or he doesn't send a message to you. It goes straight to whoever the recipient is, and therefore that's why you don't have an intel about what he's saying, as whether he's criticizing or not. So at that time, didn't he have the technology to actually text? Well, we'll bring you more on that front. It's all coming your way from Starr Radio UK, your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London. Okay, now moving on to some other stories. Now, Gabon has banned protests against French military presence, in Gabon. So, we'll be saying, why are they agitating against, in Africa, agitating against the French military presence there? We had Mali that was doing so, we have other countries, and now we have Gabon saying that, well, they are banning any protest of the sort. What have they done? We'll be bringing you more on that front. African development experts optimistic despite gloomy global economic outlook. What is making them optimistic? I want to know, and I'm sure you want to know as well. And I'm going to be bringing you more on that front in the next moment when we continue with the program. Now, moving on to other parts of the world, Biden makes emotional plea as victims of Texas shootings. Named among those killed was fourth grade teacher Eva Miles, according to a U.S. media report. A very, very sad one. NBA coach tearful plea after school shooting. Golden State Warriors Steve Kerr condemns gun violence and refuses to answer basketball questions. He was so torn apart. You could see him, shedding tears. And 19 children are shot dead by a teenage gunman who is himself killed by law enforcement. Now, what exactly seems to be going on there? When it comes to the Ukraine war, Donbass situation is extremely difficult. That's what Zelensky is saying. We West not united over Ukraine. Zelensky continues. What's been happening in Ukraine? There's more there, but we'll try our best to see how much we can bring your way. North Korea fires missiles after Biden's departure. It comes hours after the U.S. leader left Asia following a trip where he vowed to deter North Korea. The moment he left, he said, let's show them where power lies, and therefore they just fired one. Pooah! So what is going to happen? Well, this and a lot more we're going to be looking at in the next few moments. In the UK, Boris Johnson received Sue Gray's final report into parties. The Prime Minister is expected to make statement to the Commons later on Wednesday after the report is published. Now, interestingly, there are pictorial evidence now this time around, so it's going to be making people. I mean, when you say things, people can interpret it and misinterpret it, and then it can go a bit haywire. But when you have a picture, speaks 1,000 words. So, is it going to be something that he cannot actually bounce back from? Well, they gave the bounce back loan. Can he bounce back from that? Number 10 braces as the Grace Party report is delivered. What is it? What does it contain? I bet you, if you want to know more, get yourself ready, because it's going to be ready on the Prime Minister's question time there as well. Okay, we'll tell you more about all those in the next few moments, but it's now gone just a minute to 11, and let's enjoy this tune. And this is The Promise from Cici Bedu featuring Philip Azali. Enjoy this, and I'll be with you.
Can I see you snap like this, everybody? Come on.
This is Starr Radio UK.
Broadcasting worldwide, online 24/7.
All around the world. In your car,
at work,
at home,
on your smartphone.
The best radio show. All the best music.
SendWave. SendWave is a money transfer app that is used by people all over the world to send money to their loved ones in Africa. With SendWave, you can send money to Ghana, Nigeria, Kenya, Uganda, and Tanzania. And the best part is, SendWave is absolutely commission-free. Our exchange rates are excellent. You can see for yourself by checking them out on our website. So how do you use SendWave? SendWave is an app that you can download onto your phone from the App Store or Google Play Store. The app is free to download. After downloading it, just open the app and enter your name, email, and phone number. That's it. You're good to go. Make sure you use the promo code SR. S for Star, R for Radio. This promo code will give you £5 free credit to send to Africa on your first transaction. Your money will be delivered to your recipient within seconds. Feel free to call me on 0749 7377 647 at any time. I'll be happy to tell you all about SendWave and help you in any way I can. Remember to use the promo code SR for £5 free credit. Medasse.
Welcome back to the program. It is Star Radio UK. It is your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London. That was something from Cici Bedu. Okay, and it says the promise. So wherever you are, yes, there's a promise that God has made to you, and I tell you for sure, hold on to it. Hold on to it. He's your comforter. He will comfort you in the stormy waters or wherever situation that you might find yourself in. Once again, welcome to the program. It is Star Radio UK. Now, 7 minutes past the top of the hour. It's a Wednesday edition of the morning show. So we're going to be cracking on and flying so fast that I think your head will spin. But hey, that is why I want to assure you or tell you that get yourself, if you are sitting, sit very comfortably. If you are standing, hold on to something. It could get bumpy, but be rest assured of a safe arrival at your destination. Once again, welcome to the show, Star Radio UK, your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London. Updates from Nigeria. Now, a governorship aspirant under the People's Democratic Party in Abia State, Senator Nyinaya Aberebe, has withdrawn from the governorship primaries of the party scheduled for today. Now, the Senate minority leader, while stating his reason for withdrawal, cited the use of an imaginary delegates list and lack of transparency. Interesting once again, isn't it? Now, Abirabi further stated that there was no 3-man delegate selection held by the PDP in the state, adding that the list was created by those who want to impose their candidate on the party. He further in a statement he signed that his next political move will soon be made public. Now, the statement reads, notice of non-participation in the Abia PDP gubernatorial primaries. The last couple of weeks has been tortuous as we battled hard to navigate our party, the People's Democratic Party, away from a self-destructive path. It goes on to say the essence was to create an unfettered democratic space and a level playing field for all aspirants vying for all elective offices in the state to participate equally in the primary elections. That was not the case, and of course, what we are witnessing is a shambolic process driven by a procured court injunction. Well, so he's withdrawn. Well, you know, interestingly, I tell people when people say, okay, there's a contest, they decide to withdraw, and they later come in to say that, well, I think that this is not happening. They're not doing that. And I get a bit, should I say upset or worried about that? I ask myself the question that if you stayed in there, you would have brought about a change. But at times, as a protest, it's good for you to actually just quit. For people to know that, well, the stakes are high, but yet you decided to quit. So those are some of the stories making the rounds there. Aberebe has quit or decided to step down from the contest or to shun it. Now, Charlie Boys blow hot. Tackles EFCC over Okorocha's arrest. Maverick entertainer and activist Charlie Boy has slammed the operatives of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission EFCC for forcefully entering the Abuja residence of Okorocha, who is a presidential aspirant on the platform of All Progressive Congress. In the viral video, officials of the EFCC could be seen forcefully breaking through the ceiling of the two-time governor, whose house is located at number 3 Nyasa Close off Ontario Street, Abuja. Now, reacting to the development, Charlie Boy condemned the breaking into the home of the former governor by officials of the anti-graft agency. Now, according to the controversial media personality, the EFCC is wrong to forcefully gain entrance into the home of Okorocha in the way they did, coming through the roof. This one, is it fate, or like in the Bible where they said Jesus, where some people wanted to take their friend who was paralyzed to Jesus for healing, and they said, well, they couldn't get a place, so they decided to take the roofs off and then take the person through the roof. Is that what was happening? Well, the EFCC thought they will have to visit him, whatever the cost. Well, it is all coming your way from Starr Radio UK. But there's somebody who is vying for the presidency. Interesting. As we say all the time, he who goes to equity must go with equity, or must go with a clean hand. Is that what we're saying? Well, AU says it is still on strike, describes resumption order as a hoax. Now, who gave that order? The Academic Staff Union of Universities, ASU, Ambrose Ala Universities, a former chapter, Edo States, had maintained that lecturers in the university are still on strike and will remain on strike till its suspension by the national leadership of the union, describing a new fixing resumption date for May 26, 2022 as a hoax. Now, in a strict reaction to the university's management memo on Monday, May 23, 2022, signed by the acting registrar, Ambrose Odiaze, which directed students to return to the University Hall of Residence effective Thursday, May 26, the university's chapter of ASU dismissed and possibly any possibility of a resumption of the academic activities in the institution in the face of the ongoing national strike embarked upon by the union. The union dismissed rumors making the rounds that the university branch of ASU has pulled out of the national strike, advising the university administration to use the period of national strike to resolve salary crisis in the universities to avoid automatic continuation of a strike action in the institution after the eventual suspension of the national strike. So, what is going to happen? Now, you know, what are their demands? And is government ready to meet them halfway? I mean, there should be a compromise of a sort. But you know, when it comes to our politicians, when people are agitating this way, they will not give in. I don't know whether it's because they think that they don't have the means, or they think that if we give in, that means that others also will come and you have to give in. And therefore, you say no to everybody. But you have to look at the bigger picture. What is happening there? But look at students who maybe have enrolled for a course that is going to take 3 years, and now don't know their fate, don't know exactly what is going to happen to them tomorrow, as whether they are going to be able to graduate in the next year. Those who are about almost even ready to graduate, as whether they will be able to graduate and get on with their lives. No, nobody has it. But government sits and government thinks, well, you know what? Yeah, if they are on strike, they can be on strike. As to whether they are even being paid is another situation. But well, it's all coming away from Starr Radio UK. Share the broadcast with your friends and loved ones. 11:15 the time. The Bauchi community stakeholders petition President Buhari over insecurity. Now, people are calling on the president. The concerned stakeholders of Bogoro and Tafawa Balewa local government area of Bauchi state have called on President Muhammadu Buhari to intervene in the security challenges bedeviling the people of the area. The stakeholders of the two local government areas, in an open letter they sent to the President Buhari, expressed worry over the spate of attacks in the area, a development they said was causing fear and tension. The copies of the letter to the president was issued to newsmen in Bauchi under the umbrella of the Conference of Community Development Association and Religious Leaders Forum, Bogoro and Tafawa Balewa local government area, Bauchi state. The concerned citizens appealed to Buhari to intervene in the situation, saying that it has become necessary for them to sound the early warning to avoid total collapse. The letters read, the letters or the letter reads, my apologies, I didn't say it's not letters, it's a letter. A concerned resident in the region, as concerned residents in the region, we are alarmed by the development granted the recent disturbing state of insecurity which the federal and state government are both concerned about. We, the leaders of our people across ethnic and religious divides, have their mandate to communicate our concern, and we believe immediate and appropriate actions will be taken by the government to prevent the situation from worsening. Recently, there have been successions of heinous incidents that have made us quite alarmed. Our people are fleeing in fear of terror at a time when communities are celebrating the completion of state and federal government projects. In a quote, he said, the increased rate of banditry, kidnapping, and outright terror is penetrating our territories, threatening peace and security. It should be mentioned that Bauchi is one of the safest and most peaceful states in the north, and we don't want anything or anyone to halt our growth, both as people and as a community. So what will Buhari do for them? Because there are other communities that have seen worse of this insecurity issue, and it doesn't seem the government has got its hands on it, have been able to tackle the situation. So with these Bauchi people calling on the president, what different thing is it going to do? What different strategy? Then I do ask myself the question, is it that they've got, everything is got out of control? Things are falling apart because the center itself cannot hold? Quoting Chinua Achebe. What do you think? Well, it is Starr Radio UK. It is your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London. So, insecurity. Now, days after the Christian Association of Nigeria can ask the federal government to ensure safety and protection of Reverend Father Matthew Hassan Kuka, Catholic Bishop of Sokoto, and other Christian leaders, security breach has been reported around the priest. Now, gunmen in the early hours of Wednesday, that's today, invaded one of the parishes under Kuka, St. Patrick's Catholic Church, Gidan Maikambo, in the Kafur local government area of Katsina State. They abducted 2 priests and at least 2 other persons in the attack. Now, Kuka's Sokoto diocese covers Katsina, Zamfara, Sokoto, and Kebbi State. The Director of Social Communications of the Catholic Diocese of Sokoto, Reverend Father Christopher Omotosho, confirmed the development to newsmen this morning. Okay, now Omotosho said at midnight of today, 25th of May, 2022, gunmen broke into the rectory of St. Patrick's Catholic Church, Gidan Mikambo, and Kafur LGA of Katsina State. The Katsina State is the president's state. The parish priest and his assistant Reverend Fathers Stephen Ojapa, MSP, and Oliver Okpara, and 2 boys in the house were kidnapped. No information as to their whereabouts has been given. Kindly pray for their safety release, or their safe release. Now, when contacted, the spokesman for Katsina State Police Command, Gambo Iza, said, "Let me find out." Interestingly, they didn't have a clue of what was going on. It is all Starr Radio UK, your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London. This is why we bring to a close the updates from Nigeria. We'll be coming back and going to Ghana after this short commercial break. Stay tuned and don't you go away.
Hi guys, this is your friend Uruj from SendWave. SendWave is a money transfer app that is used by people all over the world to send money to their loved ones in Africa. With SendWave, you can send money to Ghana, Nigeria, Kenya, Uganda, and Tanzania. And the best part is, SendWave is absolutely commission-free. Our exchange rates are excellent. You can see for yourself by checking them out on our website. So how do you use SendWave? SendWave is an app that you can download onto your phone from the App Store or Google Play Store. The app is free to download. After downloading it, just open the app and enter your name, email, and phone number. That's it. You're good to go. Make sure you use the promo code SR, S for Starr, R for Radio. This promo code will give you £5 free credit to send to Africa on your first transaction. Your money will be delivered to your recipient within seconds. Feel free to call me on 0749 7377 647 at any time. I'll be happy to tell you all about SendWave and help you in any way I can. Remember to use the promo code SR for £5 free credit.
Getting onto the property ladder has never been easy until now. Join us this and every Thursday from 7 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. live on the Property Hour show on Starr Radio UK, where we talk to mortgage brokers, property developers, estate agents, landlord, tenant, property consultants on how to invest or get into the property business and make money. You can't afford to miss this. The Property Hour show is your best source into the property industry.
Hi everyone, it's your girl BB Clement, the author of How to Go from Employee to Entrepreneur and the host of your weekly business show, BB Means Business, the show where we discuss everything you ever wanted to know about business but you were afraid to ask. How do I start my business? How do I raise the finance? How do I grow my business? Where am I going to find my customers? Join me every Tuesday at 1:30 p.m. on Starr Radio UK to get all the information and tips that you need to become a successful entrepreneur and become financially free. Remember, don't let life dictate to you. Rather, put your signature on life.
Are you looking for the fastest, reliable, and trustworthy door-to-door shipment company? Well, look no further. When was the last time your family received a shipment back in Ghana on time and intact? You are not sure? Well, Lamb Shippers, we pride ourselves with being the fastest, reliable, and trustworthy shippers you can use. You are assured of a prompt pickup anywhere in the UK by our personnel. They also make sure your items are well packaged to get to its destination intact. When it comes to door-to-door shipment, look no further. Well, Lamb Shippers, contact us on 07939009321 or 07498911820. Or you can visit our website www.welllamp.co.uk. You can also drop us a mail, info@welllamp@gmail.com. Well Lamp Shippers, fast, reliable, and trustworthy. Welcome back to the program. It is now gone 11:24 at Starr Radio UK, the Wednesday edition of the morning show. Yes, and I can tell you that, Sue Grace report has been delivered to number 10. Is the Prime Minister worried? You want to know exactly what is going on? Well, we'll try to bring you excerpts of it once we've got it. But wherever you are, just stay tuned and don't you think of going away. Well, okay. Well, the various pictures of the party and the scenes there is quite a worrying one. But we have, okay, you can see that, and I can see it. Security agencies, the police coming out from number 10 as to whether no, they cannot go and arrest the Prime Minister. Come on. But well, there's a lot of incoming and goings at number 10 at the moment. The Prime Minister is going to get himself ready to go to the Houses of Parliament for the Prime Minister's question time. But I promise you, we'll be taking you to the PMQ exactly at ding, 12 o'clock. All right then. But for now, we have the security, we have the dispatch riders who just came out of number 10, going to mount their bikes, waiting for the Prime Minister to accompany him to the number to the Houses of Commons. So as and when more developments, we're going to be bringing your way. But for sure, we'll be taking you to the House of Commons in the next 35 minutes. So Now, let's move on to some of the other stories making the rounds in other parts of the world. Now, former President John Dramani Mahama's name has been cited in a new document by the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources, giving clear details on matters relating to lands at the Achimota Forest Reserve. The document also cites Inusa Fuseni, a former Minister of Lands and Natural Resources. The document released by Samuel Abujinapo, the sector minister, said on the 20th March 2013, the family, that is the Owus, again petitioned the then President of the Republic, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, for the release of the portion of land. On February 2014, the Forestry Commission and the Owu family executed a deed of variation to the 2013 releases as a result of what was described as an omission of the root of title and the actual size of the end land. By the said 2014 deed of variation, the Forestry Commission granted one Owu family another 50.09 acres, bringing the total acreage granted to the family to 198.50 acres. In a letter dated the 4th of April 2014, the then Minister of Lands and Natural Resources, Honorable Alhaji Inusa Fuseni MP, wrote to the Lands Commission to amend its records to reflect the grants made to the Owu family. The ministry intends to initiate a process of an independent audit on the specific issues of acreage de-gazetted and will act accordingly in the public interest should that become necessary, the documents read in part. Jinapo assured that the government was going to act on all improper acquisition of lands in the country. The statement noted that all past and present wrong acquisition of lands will be dealt with accordingly. But do you trust them? Do you believe them? Yeah? Do you believe them? Okay. Government in the quote it says, now government will act on any improper acquisition of any public lands regardless of how it was procured, whether now or in the past. The Achimota Forest lands will not be an exception. The ministry said, while indicating that the alleged will of the late former Chief Executive Officer of the Forestry Commission, Kojo Owusu Friye, as John, is subject matter for litigation in court. Now, preliminary inquiries reveal that the alleged will in question is a subject matter for litigation contestation in court. Further checks of the Lands and Forestry Commission, repositories of the record of the land in question show no record of ownership of land at the Achimota Forest or forest of Sakumono or the Sakumono Ramza site. But the late Kojo Owusu Friye, by the late Kojo Owusu Friye. But the question is, if it is under litigation, how did he know that that portion of land was going to be sold? And how did he just earmark some for himself? Wasn't it that he's paid something, or some money has exchanged hands, or some agreement have taken place and that he's been given that? So that is what we want to find. Whether it's in court or not, it is secondary. Has there been, in actual fact, some lands given out, sold out before even the public knowing about it? Well, it is already. There are news reports that earlier this week suggesting that the government has gazetted an executive instrument E1 or EI to approve the redesignation sale of development Achimota Forest. A document from the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources making reference to an executive instrument stated that the Achimota Forest Reserve is to no longer be regarded as a forest reserve. An executive instrument E1 144 gazetted on behalf of President Akufo-Addo by the Lands Minister Samuel Abdullahi Jinapo indicates that the effective May 1, 2022, the land on which the forest is located shall cease to be a forest reserve. And we've been saying this. So should Ghanaians sit down and let it be cease to be a forest reserve, or what? What is going to happen there? It is Starr Radio UK. It is your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London. Okay. Now, charity begins at home. comply with asset declaration law. Speaker tells MPs that the Speaker of Parliament in Ghana, the Speaker of Parliament, Alban Gbagben, has charged members of Parliament to strictly comply with the asset declaration law. In his view, MPs can only hold members of the executive accountable if they comply with the law. Now, Parliament must be open, transparent, and accountable to the people. As the saying goes, charity begins at home. As the constitutional and legal head of the institution of Parliament, I pledge to lead this effort by example, he said. Now, is it that after you've acquired everything, now you say that you are going to do so? Now, according to him, he will take up his role, this role together with the leadership of the House, initiate discussions with relevant state actors to put in place measures and systems to ensure that all members and staff of Parliament comply with the declaration of assets, tax obligations, and honor all outstanding issues of overpayment and underpayment reported by the Auditor General from 2001 to 2008 and 2009 to 2016. Well, so there have been lots of overpayment and underpayment that has taken place. Sooner than later, members will be informed through the usual channels about how this will be done. The proposal is to put a team in place to liaise with the state and non-state actors to smoothen the compliance of this initiative, he said. Mr. Gbagben said, Parliament in its second season will take further vigorous steps to strengthen the hand of the House to hold government and state institutions accountable for the people, for the power, trust, resources, and hope reposed in us, quote and unquote. The executive president assisted by cabinet and state, the executive president assisted by cabinet and state shall be called upon to account for the stewardship of the country to succeed to implement this agenda. Interestingly, when the speaker summoned the finance minister to Parliament, he decided not to come at the time. I don't know even whether they summoned the EC boss and she also failed to come. I'm not sure about that, but if I got it wrong, my apologies. But the people seem to think that, well, there's a trivia institution and they don't give a monkeys about it. But what do you think? Well, does that give you a bit of hope? If it doesn't, well, there is this firebrand at the time who was always, bashing government. Let me take a sip of water. Yeah, you can also enjoy yours. All right then. Yeah. Okay, the outspoken former moderator of the Presbyterian Church of Ghana, Reverend Professor Emmanuel Mate, says he changed his style of commenting. So he changed it. Why didn't he use that style earlier on when he, back in the day, during President Mohammed's time, was bashing them? Okay. Professor Emmanuel Mate was very vocal on national issues during the Mahama-led government between 2012 to 2016. He consistently attacked then government over perceived corruption and economic mismanagement. He has, however, become silent in recent years. Now, some Ghanaians have accused him of being hypocritical and selective in his criticisms, as I'm saying this morning. Yeah. So, Reverend Professor Mate is still speaking, but has changed the style. Those I need to communicate with them, I communicate. Sometimes through text messages, and a lot of things have happened because of my intervention. So I'm still speaking. Well, what is he speaking? What is he saying? What is he talking about? Well, we'll be bringing you more on that front. Very Reverend Mate explained that the constitution of the Presbyterian Church gives power only to 7 moderators to speak on behalf of the church on national issues. Okay, that's quite an interesting one. So that seems to be why he is no more speaking. But what do you think about all that? It is all coming away from Starr Radio UK. It is your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London. 11:35 the time, the morning show, the program. I am Archie. The next 25 minutes, I'll be taking you to the House of Parliament for the Prime Minister's question time. If you want to join the conversation, feel free to do so. Call us on 0208 133 2257 or 58. 0208 133 2257 or 58. And then if you are in the US, Canada, or the Caribbean area, it's 0017183032737. 0017183032737. You can also text or WhatsApp at 0753966144. 0753966144. Our Twitter handle is at Starr Radio UK, and email address is info@starradiouk.com. All right then. So that is yes, the numbers. Join in. Let's take a quick commercial break. Let me have a sip of some water again. It seems my throat keeps on getting dry by the minute. So help me God. All right then, let's take a commercial break. I'll be with you.
Hi guys, this is your friend Uruj from SendWave. SendWave is a money transfer app that is used by people all over the world to send money to their loved ones in Africa. With SendWave, you can send money to Ghana, Nigeria, Kenya, Uganda, and Tanzania. And the best part is, SendWave is absolutely commission-free. Our exchange rates are excellent. You can see for yourself by checking them out on our website. So how do you use SendWave? SendWave is an app that you can download onto your phone from the App Store or Google Play Store. The app is free to download. After downloading it, just open the app and enter your name, email, and phone number. That's it. You're good to go. Make sure you use the promo code SR. S for Star, R for Radio. This promo code will give you £5 free credit to send to Africa on your first transaction. Your money will be delivered to your recipient within seconds. Feel free to call me on 0749 7377 647 at any time. I'll be happy to tell you all about SendWave and help you in any way I can. Remember to use the promo code SR for £5 free credit.
Getting onto the property ladder has never been easy until now. Join us this and every Thursday from 7 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. live on the Property Hour show on Starr Radio UK, where we talk to mortgage brokers, property developers, estate agents, landlord, tenant, property consultants on how to invest or get into the property business and make money. You can't afford to miss this. The Property Hour show is your best source into the property industry.
Welcome back to the program. It is Starr Radio UK. It is your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London. 11:38 at time. If you want to join the conversation, feel free to do so. We've got about another 20 minutes to do that. Okay, but now let's go to other parts of the world. And look at what is happening there. Let's go to other parts of the world and see what is happening there. On the African continent, well, African leaders, African development experts are saying that they are quite optimistic despite gloomy global economic outlook. Now, they tell you in the Akan Palansi or the Ghanaian Palansi an adage that if a blind man tells you he's going to stone you, be careful. Don't think that because he's blind he cannot, because he cannot find where a stone is. He might have his foot on a stone, and therefore it's just a matter of just either just moving his feet and then just picking the stone, and then boom, that will be against you. But well, as the global financial outlook continues to look dimmer with a prolonged war in Ukraine, many African countries are bracing themselves to ride out the storm. The African Development Bank annual meeting happening in Ghana's capital Accra gave the opportunity for leaders to discuss the challenges that pandemic-induced losses in revenue have had on infrastructure. Ramping up climate finance was also a hot topic. Now this year, ramping up climate finance was also okay. Now this year's theme focuses on how to achieve climate resilience and just energy transition for Africa. Meanwhile, Ghana is thinking going on the part of, know what? Let's say that Archie forest is no more a forest, that we are just going to just develop it. Okay, so it's no more deemed as a forest. Well, when we are the same people who are saying that, look guys, we okay, just bear with me, trying to multitask here. That's why the women tell us men that they cannot multitask, but I tell you I can multitask. Can't I? Yes, I can. All right then. So delegates Delegate Sai Diani from Senegal highlighted the challenges infrastructure sector, agriculture, and youth unemployment development face. We need roads, ports, railroads, motorways to move goods from point A to B. Today, the infrastructure deficit has an impact on GDP and growth. We have challenges in terms of youth unemployment, and we have challenges in having over 50% of the population that are women that are not employed, and they are disproportionately impacted by the climate change because a lot of them are subsistent farmers. So those are the whole farmers. They just use the whole. Which some people tell me that's a garden. There's having a small garden, a backyard garden. You cannot do much with that. Well, sometimes they tell, oh, we had a harvest. Well, can you just imagine if you use machines to do that, mechanized farming? What do you think there? But well, they are saying that they are very optimistic. Are we going to get some money from somewhere? Where is the money going to come from? Well, let the meeting continue, and we'll be bringing you updates from that as and when we have them. And then Ethiopia Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus reappointed as World Health Organization Director General once again. When I visited Ukraine, when I saw especially the case, I felt what I felt. You may not believe it. When I see the case, it was that image. Okay, so he has been appointed as Director General of WHO again. Did he do a good work when it came to the COVID? Somebody will say yes, others will say no. But what is your take? Well, maybe whatever it does not impact you directly, and therefore somebody will say, I don't give a monkeys about it. But some way, somehow, if it's done a good job, why not? All right then, let's move on to some other stories making the rounds. Well, as I said, we'll be taking you to the Houses of Parliament pretty soon. But Sue Gray's report on number 10 lockdown parties has just been published. As they lay photos and everything there. Well, quite an interesting piece there. Would that actually make the Prime Minister's position untenable? Or you think, oh, it's one of those things. He's more than a cat. He's got 11 lives. If the cat has got 9 lives, he is got 11 lives. Now, Sue Gray's final report into parties in and around Downing Street during the pandemic has been published. Unacceptable treatment of security staff, says Gray. Now, Gray says she is pleased. She is pleased progress is being made. In addressing issues she raised in her interim report back in January, she adds, I commented on the fragmentary and complicated leadership structures in number 10. Now, since my update, there have been changes to the organization and management of Downing Street and the Cabinet Office with the aim of creating clearer lines of leadership and accountability. And now, this needs the chance and time to bed in. The senior civil servant also pointed to her previous findings that the staff had witnessed or been subjected to behaviors at work which they had felt concerned about, but at times felt unable to raise properly. Now, this time, she adds examples saying, I was made aware of multiple examples of a lack of respect and poor treatment of security and cleaning staff. Now, this was unacceptable. But Gray again says she is reassured. Okay? She says that, okay, just bear with me. I'm trying to get her story, and they're trying to load more to me as well. But Gray again says she is reassured to see that steps have since been taken to introduce more easily accessible means by which it raises concerns electronically, in person, or online, including directly with the permanent secretary in number 10. I hope that this will truly embed a culture that welcomes and creates opportunities for challenges and speaking up at all levels, she says. But would that indict the Prime Minister? Would it, create a dent in his image? If any? Well, we'll be following that story. But Boris Johnson will give a statement to the Commons at 12:30 about the Sue Gray report. That will be after he has had his Prime Minister's question time. But what do you think is going to happen? Interestingly, the moment you touch on that, the ruling government or the Conservative Party members will say, you know what? The Labour leader was also caught in an act where he was also having a pint of beer and a curry. So we've all broken the laws. But if somebody did it more than others, do you think somebody say all sin be sin, Abi? Aha. Okay. Well, the person stole toffee, somebody, whatever, somebody killed, all sin be sin. No. All right then. So let's see what is going to happen on that front. But it's all coming your way from Star Radio UK. Don't you worry, I'll take you to the Houses of Parliament in the next moment as we get ready to do so. Well, cost of living. Government plan to help households could come within days. A government plan to help support people with a rising cost of living could come as soon as Thursday. The Prime Minister and Chancellor have been under growing pressure to act as prices for fuel, food, and energy continue to soar. Now, government was also desperate to shift the agenda on from party gate, so they just preparing this quickly so that the moment it goes boom there, they just bring the word, hey, a white flag, something to ease your pain. What about that? That's strategy, a good strategy, right? Okay. Now, Downing Street denied the announcement was time to distract from Sue Gray's report into lockdown gatherings. The senior civil servant report into events held in Downing Street is expected to be sent to number 10. As I said, it's been already sent there, and I brought you excerpts of it. The Prime Minister is to meet Chancellor Rishi Sunak soon to finalize plans with an announcement possible on Thursday. Mr. Johnson has recent days invited a collection of economists with a range of views to explore the options available to him. Sources say that Mr. Johnson spoke on Tuesday about the need to balance and any further government spending and intervention with not raising inflation further. It is also understood that pleasing Minister Kate Malthouse repeated calls at the cabinet to swiftly return to a low tax society. Last week, inflation reached a 40-year high. On Tuesday, the energy regulator Ofgem warned the energy price caps, which limits how much providers can raise prices, is expected to increase to $2,800 a year in the autumn. Well, it is all coming your way from Star Radio UK. It is all your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London. All right, now let's move on to other parts of the world. Let's look at some of the stories making the rounds there, and then we can bring the program to the first part of the program to a close. Before we get to the US, now North Korea has fired 3 ballistic missiles early on Wednesday morning, South Korea's military has said. And authorities in Seoul said the missiles were fired in the space of less than an hour from the Sunan area in Pyongyang. It comes just days after U.S. President Joe Biden left the region following a trip that saw him vowing to bolster measures to deter North Korea. Now, North Korea has been firing a flurry of ballistic missiles since the beginning of this year. Now, Japan confirmed at least 2 launches happened on Wednesday, but acknowledged there may have been more. The Japanese Defense Minister Nobuo Kishi said the first missile flew about 300 kilometers, that is 186 miles, with a maximum altitude of around 550,000 kilometers, while the second reaching a high as 50 kilometers traveled around 750 kilometers. Mr. Kishi criticized the lunches, saying they were not acceptable, adding that it will threaten the peace, stability, and safety of Japan and the international community. In a meeting convened after the missile launch, South Korea's National Security Council called the test a grave provocation. The presidential office said the launches came hours after Mr. Biden departed from the U.S. Departed for the U.S. on Tuesday evening after a 5-day trip that saw him visit South Korea and Japan. Now, U.S. and South Korea officials had earlier warned that North Korea appeared ready for another weapons test, possibly during the Biden visit. Now, during his visit to Seoul over the weekend, Mr. Biden and his South Korean counterpart Young Sung-yeol agreed to hold bigger military drills and deploy more U.S. strategic assets if necessary to deter the North Korea intensifying weapon tests. Now, do you think that is going to happen at all? Do you think that is going to happen at all? And if it is, what is going to be the outcome of that? It is all coming your way from Starr Radio UK, your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London. Now, it's a story that broke yesterday. Okay, let me bring you this one and then we can move on to that. Now, on the Ukrainian war, bodies of dead Russian soldiers have been abandoned near Kyiv. Now, when their dogs started digging insistently at a spot in the woods, villagers of the Zavalivka called in the authorities. The Ukrainian military team were soon at the scene in the white protective suits, carefully removing the topsoil. They uncovered a man's body, face down, with his legs oddly twisted beneath him. It was clear from his uniform that he was a Russian soldier. Weeks after they failed to seize Ukraine's capital, the remains of Russian troops are still being discovered in and around the villages they passed through or occupied near the capital, Kyiv. But Ukraine says Russia shows little interest in getting them back. Now, from the grave in the woods, the body was removed to a refrigerated train on the outskirts of Kyiv that now operates as a mobile morgue for the Russian dead. The white plastic sacks are marked with numbers rather than names, and there were at least 137 stacked inside 2 carriages on the day they visited. So, I have a picture of it, and they are there. The stench that will come with that, I'm not sure what exactly is going on. If it's refrigerated, well, then hopefully it should be doing the job. But if not, what can war, or what does war bring? It's not good, is it? Well, it is All Starr Radio UK, your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London. The final story coming from the US. Now, Trump's man have been trounced in key Georgia's election. The governor race in Georgia will pit Republican Brian Kemp against Democrat star Stacey Abrams. Okay, how did that impact Trump though? Well, I'll be telling you more on that tomorrow once we come on. Okay, let me bring you excerpts of that, just a quick excerpts of that. Now, Mr. Trump recruited David Perdue, an ex-senator, to challenge an incumbent Brian Kemp in the Republican primaries. Mr. Kemp had rejected Mr. Trump's pleas to overturn the 2020 Georgia election results. But as ballots were counted, Mr. Perdue was so far behind that he was defeated before half the votes were in. The primary was being closely watched as a test of Mr. Trump's hold over the Republican Party as voters decide who will be the party's official candidate in the midterm election in November. The midterms will decide who controls the 2 chambers which make up Congress, the Senate and the House of Reps, and fall halfway through President Joe Biden's term in office. How is it going to pan out for him? Because people have come to condemn his governance and said that, well, his government have not done much for them. It looks like America is in a very, very bad situation. And FBI has foiled terror plot to kill George W. Bush. An Iraqi citizen in Ohio allegedly attempted to have militants smuggled across the Mexican border to come and finish the George W. Bush. Why? Because of his actions in Iraq. Well, what do you think? Now, Texas primary school shooting leaves 21 dead, and that was a sad story that happened yesterday. 19 young children and 2 adults have died in a shooting at a primary school in South Texas. And the gunman opened fire at Robb Elementary School, which teaches children aged 7 to 10 in the city of Uvalde before he was killed by law enforcement officials said. Now, the 18-year-old suspect had handgun, an AR-15 semi-automatic rifle, and high-capacity magazine. Investigators have said the teenager is suspected of shooting his grandmother before the rampage. Now, local media report he may have been a high school student in the area. Now, Valley Consolidated Independent School District Chief of Police Peter Arredondo said the shooting began at 11:32 local time on Tuesday, and that investigators believe the attacker did act alone during the heinous crime. The Texas Governor Greg Abbott said the shooter, whom he named as Salvador Ramos, abandoned a vehicle before entering the school to horrifically, incomprehensibly open fire. So this is why I bring the first part of the program to a close. It's been a pleasure coming your way. It is Starr Radio UK. It is your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London. Stay tuned. Don't you go away. Let me get you ready to take you to number 10 down the Houses of Parliament. My apologies there. Stay tuned.
He has to eat, and he was working in Durham, and he had something to eat and then carried on working. There is no issue with that. The police will investigate and will find that to be the case, and there's certainly no equivalence with what was going on in Downing Street. I was looking at the conclusions here of the Sue Gray report, and paragraph 5, point 5, talks about the multiple examples of the lack of respect and poor treatment of security and cleaning staff, and how unacceptable that was. And we heard on Panorama last night about security staff trying to stop these parties and being laughed at, and the mickey being taken out of them, people doing the right thing or trying to do the right thing, but the culture in number 10 having got completely out of control. And the person who sits at the top of that, who is politically accountable, is the Prime Minister, who also lied about it. It's open and shut. And I know that I can hear, the excuses mounting, which is, the Prime Minister has many other things to do, let's move on. The fact of the matter is that whilst they continue to try to protect the Prime Minister, they are not looking at the big issues of the day, which is, most importantly, which is the cost of living crisis, where we have told the government months ago what they should be doing in relation to people's fuel bills and how we ought to have a windfall tax. And it may be that they're about to agree to that, but it's months and months too late, because they've been spending their time trying to defend the Prime Minister instead.
OK, we're very close to 12 o'clock and Prime Minister's questions. Let's quickly go back to Sam Coates. That shot there of the House of Commons, we'll return to it, of course, when the Prime Minister stands up. But Sam, very briefly, what else have you found?
One of the events most worrying people in number 10 has been this. The party in the flat on the 13th of November. Sue Gray was investigated. This yellow section here reveals that she didn't bother in the end. When the police decided that they weren't going to investigate and there was nothing more to say, she also washed herself washed her hands of the event. So the most potentially damaging flat, allegations of dancing in the flat. She says, following the Metropolitan Police announcement on the 19th of May, so that's last week, I considered whether or not to conduct any further investigation into this event, but I concluded it was not appropriate or proportionate to not do so. So a clean bill of health because she just never investigated what happened in Boris Johnson and Carrie Johnson's personal flat after the police didn't do so either.
Let's very briefly return to Kirsty Blackman on that one. Kirsty, I think that was the ABBA party, as it was dubbed. So it appears that Sue Gray didn't actually now investigate that.
Yeah, I think we need to have justification for why she didn't. She says it's not proportionate, but, you know, this is one of the worst allegations. The Prime Minister just can't wash his hands of this. I mean, this is endemic, and if he had cared a jot about what people were going through, he would have put a stop to all of this happening in the building that he lives in, that he's in charge of.
OK, we're going to thank you all very much there, because Prime Minister's Questions is inevitably going to start very soon. David Simmons for the Conservative Party, Emily Thornberry, of course, for Labour, and Kirsty Blackman from the SNP. Thank you all very, very much for joining us and giving us your thoughts as we all digest the details of the Sue Gray report. Our political editor, Beth Rigby, still here in the studio. Beth, looking now at the bigger picture, really, lots of sort of juicy bits of stories of parties and post-mortems of them. But overall, how damning would you say it is?
Well, I think this is the big thing now, and this is what we need to think about, which is that there's a string of embarrassing revelations in this report. There's
PMQs is starting. Let's listen to the Prime Minister.
I want to begin by echoing what you've just said at the reports of the fatal shooting in a Texan primary school. Our thoughts are with all those affected by this horrific attack. Mr. Speaker, yesterday I welcomed the Emir of Qatar to Downing Street. It's excellent news that Qatar announced it will invest up to £10 billion into the UK through our new strategic investment partnership. And not only will it boost local economies and support jobs, it will support our green economy and decarbonisation. Mr. Speaker, this morning I had meetings with ministerial colleagues and others. In addition to my duties in this House, I shall have further such meetings later today.
Anthony Brown.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Cambridge is one of the most expensive places to live in the country, but unlike many cheaper places, NHS workers in the city get no high cost of living supplement. So NHS workers in Cambridge pay higher rents than NHS workers in outer London boroughs like Redbridge and Croydon and Bexley and Barking, and yet they get paid 15% less. This makes it very difficult for the NHS in Cambridge, including Addenbrooke's Hospital, to retain and recruit staff. Will my right honourable friend, the Prime Minister, work with me to make sure that NHS workers in South Cambridgeshire and Cambridge get paid fairly?
Prime Minister. My honourable friend is a fantastic champion for his constituents and for Addenbrooke's, and we're very proud of our NHS, and that's why we're putting record investment in, Mr. Speaker, and I hope that the independent NHS pay review body will listen carefully to what my honourable friend has just said.
We now come to the Leader of the Opposition, Keir Starmer.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and my thoughts also, and I know the thoughts of the whole House, are with the families of the victims of yesterday's school shooting in Texas. 19 children have died, some as young as 7, and 2 adults believed to be teachers. It is an unspeakable tragedy, and our hearts are with the American people. Last weekend marked the anniversary of both the Manchester bombing and the murder of Lee Rigby, and we remember them this year as we do every year. And today is also the anniversary of the killing of George Floyd, a reminder that we must all tackle the racism that is still experienced by so many in our country and beyond. Mr. Speaker, the Sue Gray report was published this morning, and I look forward to discussing that during this afternoon's statement with the Prime Minister. For now, I want to focus on the cost of living affecting the whole country. Mr. Speaker, since we stood here last week and I asked the Prime Minister yet again to back Labour's plans for a windfall tax to reduce energy bills, hundreds of millions of pounds have been added to bills of families across the country, and hundreds of millions of pounds have landed in the bank accounts of energy companies. It sounds like he's finally seen sense, and the inevitable U-turn may finally have arrived. So when can people across the country expect him to use those oil and gas profits to bring down their bills?
Prime Minister.
Well, Mr. Speaker, there's nothing original about a Labour plan to tax business. There's nothing remarkable. They want to tax business the whole time, every day. Labour wants to put up taxes on business. And what we're doing is we're helping people. He asks when we're going to help people. We're helping people now, Mr. Speaker, and we're putting £22 billion into people's pockets already, cutting council tax by £150, cutting fuel duty, cutting national insurance contributions by an average of £330 for people who pay NICs. And, Mr. Speaker, how can we afford that? Because we have a strong economy, because we came out of COVID fast, Mr. Speaker, which would not have been possible if we'd listened to the party opposite.
15 tax rises, and he pretends they're a low-tax government. It's been, Mr. Speaker, it's been 4.5 months since Labour first called for a windfall tax on oil and gas profits. I've raised it week in, week out, and every week he has a new reason for not doing it. The Business Secretary has said it's bad. The Justice Secretary called it disastrous. Even this weekend, the Health Secretary and the Northern Ireland Secretary opposed it. He ordered all of his MPs to vote against it last week. And now, surprise, surprise, he's backing it. Prime Minister, I'm told that hindsight is a wonderful thing. But, Mr. Speaker, whilst he dithered and delayed, households across the country suffered when they didn't need to. What?
Peter? Mr. Bone, a man who always wants to catch my eye is not going the best way to do so. Keir Starmer.
Mr. Speaker, whilst he dithered and delayed, households across the country suffered when they didn't need to. What is it about the Sougray report that first attracted him to a U-turn this week?
Mr. Speaker, there is no surprise about Labour's lust. There's no surprise about Labour's lust to put up taxes. There's nothing original about his thought. They get off on it. They absolutely love to confiscate other people's assets. What we prefer to do, Mr. Speaker, is make sure that we have the measures that are in place to drive investment in our country and drive jobs. And it's thanks to the steps that we took, thanks to the fact that we came out of COVID faster than any other European country, which would not have been possible if we'd listened to him, that we now have unemployment at the listen to this. They used to care about this, Mr. Speaker. Unemployment at the lowest level since 1974. Put that in your pipe.
Keir Starmer.
Mr. Speaker, I actually thought with his U-turn he might actually get his head out of the sand, but obviously not. The reality is that every day of his dithering and his delay, £53 million has been added to Britain's household bills. Whilst he's distracted trying to save his own job, the country has been counting the cost. But complacency is nothing new for this government. Back in October, the Chancellor delivered a mini-budget that has to be reread to be believed. With inflation already climbing, he said that he understood people were concerned about it and the government was ready to act. Since then, inflation has risen to a 40-year high, the highest rate of any G7 country. If the government was so ready to act 6 months ago, why hasn't it?
Mr. Speaker, the government has acted, and my right honourable friend, the Chancellor, continues to act. This is the government that not only put in the living wage, Mr. Speaker. It was a Conservative institution, but we've now raised it by a record amount. We've raised it by £1,000, Mr. Speaker, a record amount. We've helped families on universal credit have another £1,000, Mr. Speaker. Thanks to the measures, the £9.1 billion we've already put in to support people's costs of heating. We're abating the costs of fuel for people up and down the country, and of course we're going to do more, Mr. Speaker. We're going to put our arms around the people of this country, just as we did throughout the COVID pandemic. But the reason we can do that is because we took the tough decisions to drive the fastest vaccine rollout in Europe, which wouldn't have been possible if you listened to him, Mr. Speaker, and that's why we have, and let me take another statistic, youth unemployment, they used to care about it, youth unemployment at or near a record low.
Mr. Speaker, it wasn't just the Chancellor back in September. The Prime Minister called fears about inflation unfounded. He was the last person to spot the cost of living crisis, just as he's the last person to back Labour's plan to help people through it. Mr. Speaker, it wasn't just on inflation that they got it badly wrong. In the same speech, the Chancellor boasted about growth. The Prime Minister does today. How we were going to do better than all our major competitors. It was obvious that he was being complacent. And lo and behold, Britain is set to have the lowest growth of any major country except Russia. Despite our brilliant businesses and all we have to offer, why has his government inflicted on Britain the twin-headed hydra of the highest inflation and the lowest growth?
Mr. Speaker, he loves running this country down. How many times did he come to this place? How many times did he come to this place and say that the United Kingdom had the highest COVID death rate in Europe? How many times? He was proved completely wrong. Did he ever apologise, Mr. Speaker? Absolutely not. Did he ever take it back? Absolutely not, Mr. Speaker. Actually, because of the steps we took, last year we had the fastest growth in the G7, and we will return to the fastest growth by 2024, 2025, thanks to the decisions that this government took, Mr. Speaker. And they don't care about getting people into jobs. They don't care. We care about the working people of this country, making sure we have a high-wage, high-skill, high-employment economy, and that's what we're delivering.
He talks about running this country down. He is running this country down. And it wasn't just complacency on Labour's windfall tax, which he's now backing. It wasn't just complacency on inflation, which is now through the roof. And it wasn't just complacency on growth, which is now spluttering along at the back of the pack. Because his Chancellor also claimed that people should keep more of the rewards of their efforts. And then he put their taxes up. So does the Prime Minister want to explain to hard-working people whose wages are running out sooner and sooner each month and who are facing astronomical bills and prices just how his 15 tax rises since taking office have helped them to keep more of their rewards in their pocket?
Mr. Speaker, first of all, what we're doing is making sure, after a huge pandemic, that we are funding our vital public services, which we can, because of the steps that we take. What we're also doing is making sure that we put more money back into people's pockets by the measures that I've outlined today, whether through cutting national insurance contributions or lifting the living wage or lifting universal credit, Mr. Speaker. But all this is made possible. Because we took the responsible and sensible steps to protect our economy throughout COVID and then to come out strongly. And he's completely wrong about this country's growth performance, Mr. Speaker. He runs it down. He was proved wrong about COVID. He's going to be proved wrong again.
Just delusional. Mr. Speaker, last week I raised the case of Phoenix Halliwell, whose kidney condition means he needs daily dialysis and whose energy bill has gone through the roof as a result. I'm glad that, as a result, government officials got in touch with Phoenix yesterday, and I hope that will result in more support for people who are vulnerable. But it shouldn't be left to Labour to turn up week after week to make him aware of the consequences of his dither and delay. So I want to raise another issue where the government is sleepwalking into disaster. With the summer holidays looming, there are reports that the Home Office already has a backlog of 500,000 passports to issue. That's potentially more than 500,000 people worrying whether they will get away this summer. So can the Prime Minister reassure people that they won't miss out on their holidays due to the failures of his Home Office?
Well, I thank you very much, but I can tell him actually that what we're doing is massively increasing the speed with which the Passport Office deliver, and to the best of my knowledge, everybody is getting their passport within 4 to 6 weeks, Mr. Speaker. But that is because we are driving the leadership of this country, and we are getting things done that would never have been possible if we listened to them. We got Brexit done, Mr. Speaker, when he voted 48 times. 48 times he voted to undo the will of the people. We got the vaccine rollout done when he would have kept us in the European Medicines Agency, Mr. Speaker. We were the first European country to help the Ukrainians resist Vladimir Putin. Yes. Do you think, does anybody seriously believe for a second that they would have done it?
Some are trying to boo, some are trying to cheer. The worst of it is I can't hear the Prime Minister. Come on, Prime Minister.
Let me say very plainly, does anybody seriously think for a second that the Labour Party would have done that, Mr. Speaker, when eight of the shadow front bench, including the shadow Foreign Secretary, who is mysteriously not in his place, voted recently to get rid of this country's independent nuclear deterrent? And he campaigned to put Jeremy Corbyn in Downing Street, Mr. Speaker. We get on, we do the difficult things. We take the tough decisions, Mr. Speaker. Social care, we're fixing it. They deliver.
Prime Minister, we both can't be on our feet. I'm trying to help you. You've got to help me as well. And I'm sure you've got to the end because Mr. Stewart's itching to get his question. Graham Stewart.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. When the Prime Minister gets passionate, things get done. Brexit is done. The vaccine, if they could contain themselves, the vaccine rollout done. So will my right honourable friend personally intervene so that the immunocompromised, like my constituent Scott, can get access to British wonder drug Evusheld, and then they, not next winter, not next year, but now, so that they can enjoy this summer and enjoy their freedom just like the rest of us.
Minister.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, I know that my honourable friend has taken a keen interest in this for a while. Evusheld could potentially reduce the risk of infection, as he says. We've got to look at the available evidence before we can make a decision about whether it should be available. But I will make sure that the Department for Health and Social Care keep him updated on the progress we're making.
We now come to Leader of the SNP, Ian Blackford.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I want to join others today to express my deepest sorrow at the horrific events in Texas yesterday. 19 children and 2 teachers have needlessly lost their lives. Many of us in Scotland will be remembering the tragic events that took place in Dunblane 26 years ago. The thoughts and prayers of the SNP are with the families suffering today, but also our hope that lawmakers will finally act to bring the scourge of gun violence that plagues the United States to an end. Mr. Speaker, the reports that the Prime Minister in Downing Street's law-breaking have been damning. Empty bottles littering offices, rooms so crowded people were sitting on each other's laps, and security forced to intervene because the parties were so outrageous. At the centre was the Prime Minister orchestrating it, grabbing a glass for himself in order to toast the partygoers. For 8 months, we've heard every excuse under the sun. But now we've all seen the damning photo evidence. While people stayed at home to protect the NHS, the Prime Minister was engaging in drinking and debauchery that makes a mockery of the gut-wrenching sacrifices that each and every person made. Will the Prime Minister now take the opportunity and resign?
Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I can tell the right honourable gentleman that much as I appreciate his advice, he'll have a further opportunity, which I'm sure he will take with his customary length to debate that matter in the course of the statement which will follow directly after PMQs.
I'm not happy. Ian Blackfield.
Matters, Mr. Speaker, but it's all a joke to the Prime Minister. The Prime Minister has lost the trust of the public. He has lost what little moral authority he had left. The Prime Minister has apologised many times, not because he feels any genuine remorse. He still refuses to even admit that there were parties and that he presided over them. He apologised for one simple reason: he got caught. The reality is, no apology will ever be enough for the families of people who lost loved ones, for the families who followed the rules, who stayed at home whilst their nearest and dearest to them were dying, and are now forced to look at photographs of the Prime Minister surrounded by drink, toasting to a party in the middle of a lockdown. If the Prime Minister will not accept that he must resign, then the Tory benches must act. This Prime Minister, who has broken the law and shown a cavalier attitude to the truth, cannot be allowed to remain in office. Prime Minister, time is up. Resign. Resign. Resign before this House is forced to remove him.
Prime Minister.
I thank him very much, and I would just direct him again. I think it would be to his advantage to look through the report, and then I think we should return to it after PMQs.
We now come to Jonathan Gillis.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. High streets and heritage means a lot to the people of Stoke-on-Trent North, Kidsgrove and Tork. Burslem and Tunstall, two of the great 6 towns of Stoke-on-Trent, are plagued with rogue and absent landlords who are too happy to let shops sit empty and historically important buildings such as Price and Kensington Teapot Works fall into ruin. Which is why I introduced my proper maintenance of land bill to increase fines on these ruinous owners. Can my right honourable friend confirm that as part of the government's planning reform, he will adopt my bill which imposes a new unlimited fine so these reckless reprobates can be held accountable? Up the veil for Saturday, Mr. Speaker.
Prime Minister.
Here, Mr. Speaker. Up the veil, but on his, I want to thank him, by the way, for his campaign. I think he's entirely right, and that's why we've adopted the measures that he proposes in the bill. Those who leave properties derelict unreasonably could face an unlimited fine, Mr. Speaker.
Sir Geoffrey Donaldson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I was pleased to meet the Prime Minister last week in Royal Hillsborough in my constituency. We welcome his commitment to introduce legislation to deal with the protocol on the Irish Sea border and to protect the Belfast Good Friday Agreement. That will take some time. In the meantime, as in the rest of the United Kingdom, hard-pressed households in Northern Ireland are suffering from the cost of living crisis. Will the Prime Minister give me an assurance that any measures that are brought forward by the Chancellor in the near future to help hard-pressed households will apply to Northern Ireland, and that the protocol will not be allowed to prevent Northern Ireland citizens receiving the support they need from the government at this time?
I thank the right honourable gentleman very much. As he knows, we have a package of measures to support families across the whole of the UK that I've detailed already to the House. I may say that I also think it would be an advantage to the people of Northern Ireland in tackling the issues that we all face across the UK if Stormont were to be restored, Mr. Speaker.
Lynn Saxby.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The recent report on levelling up the rural economy highlighted many areas where more work is needed in small rural and coastal communities to ensure they also benefit from our levelling up agenda. Does the Prime Minister agree with me that we need to ensure levelling up reaches into rural and coastal Devon, and will my right honourable friend meet with me and Helen Herford, our excellent candidate in Tiverton and Honiton, to agree how we can can progress our plans for Devon.
Prime Minister.
Yes, of course, Mr. Speaker, because my honourable friend is a fantastic advocate for Devon, for rural communities, and I will make sure that both she and Helen Herford get a meeting with the relevant minister to discuss her ideas further.
Ben Lay.
Mr. Speaker, rising fuel costs are causing serious problems for workers in car-dependent rural areas like Ceredigion, and for carers and district nurses, the situation has reached a crisis point. One carer from Ceredigion often has to travel 29 miles just to reach the first service user of the day, and travels around 1,700 miles each month. Would the Prime Minister therefore consider extending the Rural Fuel Duty Relief Scheme to areas like Ceredigion to help my constituent and many like her to continue their invaluable work?
Minister.
Well, I thank him for his excellent question, and I can tell him that rural fuel duty relief is there to compensate motorists by helping retailers in some more remote rural areas where pump prices can be significantly higher. It currently operates on a geographical basis, but Mr. Speaker, I'm very happy to ensure that the honourable gentleman gets a meeting with the relevant minister as fast as possible.
Stevenson.
Prime Minister, Labour and Socialism has failed this country because they have followed policies which interfere too much in people's lives, over-regulate, spend too much taxpayers' money, borrow too much and raise taxes. Could the Prime Minister tell the House what policies his government are going to follow to ensure we don't have a similar fate?
Yes, Mr. Speaker, I can. And I'm grateful to my honourable friend, and he's absolutely right, that Labour's instinct everywhere and always is to put up tax with all its... that's what they're bragging about it today, Mr. Speaker. It's ludicrous. And what we are doing is not only cutting people's contributions under national insurance, but also helping businesses to invest with the 130% super deduction that my right honourable friend put in. And what that is doing is helping us to have a high-wage, high-skill economy with unemployment, and that's why I said this before, Mr. Speaker, at the lowest since 1974.
Jill Furness.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Days before the election of disgraced former Conservative MP Imran Ahmad Khan, his victim warned the Conservative Party of the abuse he had suffered. Sit down, sorry.
There's still, I think, an appeal in sub judice, so if you can be careful how just word the question.
Shockingly, they failed to act on this report and still won't explain why. That's why Rotherham child sexual exploitation survivor Sammy Woodhouse has called for an independent investigation into the failure, warning that the Conservative Party have broken the trust of victims. So, will the Prime Minister personally back those calls and launch an independent investigation until the failure to act, so that victims can have confidence that his party will never again turn a blind eye to it?
Well, Mr. Speaker, I hear what she says and the sensitivity of the issues that she raises. I think that though, given the legal proceedings that are currently going on, I don't think it would be right to comment any further.
On Bailey.
Mr. Speaker, while the politics of politics often gets all the attention, back in the real world,
Yeah.
millions of parents are being held back by issues with childcare schemes that have been a muddle over governments of all political colours, and I declare a quite obvious interest. The taxpayer is spending 5 to 6 billion quid a year, but we have some of the highest costs in the world during a cost of living squeeze, and Stroud parents and early years educators are really stuck with the bureaucracy. I know my right honourable friend has personally asked ministers to investigate options to reduce the cost of childcare. Will he tell us a little bit more about what we can do urgently and work with me with the think tank Onward when we do our reforms?
Well, yes, Mr. Speaker, I thank her very much, and she and I have talked about this. This is a subject in which I take a direct personal interest, and I think, Mr. Speaker, that there are things that we can do to make childcare more affordable. One of the issues is that not enough people take up tax-free childcare. We need to have more take-up of what is on offer. But what we can also look at, Mr. Speaker, is ways in which we can reform and improve the system.
Session
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Next month marks 5 years since the horrific Grenfell fire tower, which killed 72 people. My constituency of Vauxhall has many tall buildings similar to Grenfell. In 2019, the Prime Minister rightly told this House, where the inquiry recommends government responsibility for fire safety, we will legislate accordingly. But, Mr. Speaker, last week the government dropped the inquiry's recommendation that personal evacuation plans should be in place for disabled residents, claiming basic safety would be too expensive. Grenfell United said that this showed that cutting costs is more important than the value of human life. So will the Prime Minister urgently reverse this deeply inhumane decision and not break another promise to this House?
Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, let's be clear. If there is an issue with fire safety in a building, then extra steps should be taken and remediation should be made. And when it comes to self-evacuation, Mr. Speaker, the Home Office has launched a new consultation to support the fire safety of residents who are unable to self-evacuate. But if she has further representations to make on that point, I'll be very happy to ensure she gets a meeting with the Minister in Duluth.
Liam Black.
Mr. Speaker, I am not a cynical sort, but I was slightly perplexed this week when the Cabinet Secretary and the Director of Government Propriety and Ethics, no less, were banned from attending my committee to give evidence which had been scheduled for 2 months. I cannot possibly think why, Mr. Speaker. But I wonder which particular subjects my right honourable friend, the Prime Minister, was most concerned being raised by my committee. Was it the case of undeclared loans and donations in kind, security insights into appointments to the House of Lords, or indeed the consultation of the Propriety and Ethics Units in ministerial appointments?
Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I can assure him, I know he's not a cynic, he's one of nature's idealists, Mr. Speaker, and I will make sure that all relevant ministers and civil servants appear before his committee.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Prime Minister is leading a long queue of Conservatives MPs lining up to show how out of touch they are. Bills are rising, people are struggling. A quarter of people in work in Putney earn less than the London living wage. They don't need to be told how to budget better, to learn how to cook, to buy value food. They already are. When will the Prime Minister get a grip on this crisis, and when will he bring in the windfall tax?
Mr. Speaker, what we're doing for the people of Putney and the people throughout this country is making sure that we invest now in protecting them, as I've said to the House and I've said repeatedly, not just with the increases in universal credit or in the living wage, in the warm homes discount, in cutting fuel bills, but also, of course, with the £330 cut in NICs, Mr. Speaker. But the reason we can do this is because we have a robust economic position in which we have strong employment. That is giving us the revenue to pay and to cushion people in this difficult time. It would not have been possible if we'd listened to the Labour Party during COVID.
Mr. McCartney.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This weekend, tens of thousands of Huddersfield sporting fans are coming down to London. On Saturday, Huddersfield Giants are in their first Rugby League Challenge Cup final for over a decade. And on Sunday, it's Huddersfield Town in the Championship playoff final for a place in the Premier League. Will the Prime Minister, as well as wishing the best of luck to both Huddersfield teams, agree with me that the best way that Labour-run Kirklees Council can honour the sporting tradition of Huddersfield is following through with their pledge to house the new National Rugby League Museum in Huddersfield, in the birthplace, the George Hotel, and not pull out of that deal as they've indicated they want to do so?
Prime Minister.
Is that the Labour Council pulling out of their deal? Well, Mr. Speaker, I'm not surprised. All I can say is I congratulate him on his campaign for a National Rugby League museum, and I urge him to take it up with the Arts Council or other relevant bodies.
Andy MacDonald.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Under the cover of the pandemic, we've seen a massive shift in wealth from the poorest to the richest. A partying PM and a law-breaking rich list chancellor have lined the pockets of their wealthy pals, whilst upwards of 175,000 of our fellow citizens have died from COVID, and they're now sitting on their hands and laughing in our faces as the cost of living crisis and fuel poverty could well leave thousands more to die of cold in their own homes. So, Mr. Speaker, when we saw pictures of the PM partying in the middle of the pandemic, was he toasting his assault on the working class? And I ask him, how on earth does he sleep at night with so much blood on his filthy, privileged hands?
Mr. Speaker, from furlough onwards, everything we have done since the pandemic began has been to get money into the pockets of the working people of this country, and those are the people time and again that we have prioritised. And I do not for a moment, I do not for a moment doubt, Mr. Speaker, that things are tough. I do not doubt it for a moment, but it is our intention to get this country through it, and we will get through it very well by putting our arms around people as we can and as we will because of the fiscal firepower that we have, Mr. Speaker, but also by making sure that we continue with the high-wage, high-skill, high-employment economy that we have. And the best thing to get money into people's pockets, Mr. Speaker, is to have a job.
Jill Mortimer.
Does the Prime Minister agree with me that when the right honourable member opposite spins his myth of a low-tax Labour Party, he clearly needs a memory job? Because, can I just remind you all that in 2019, you all stood on a manifesto that would have inflicted the highest tax burden on the people of this country in peacetime. That's probably why there's so few of you over there.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, they campaigned to put up taxes on business to the highest level this country has ever seen. That was his ambition, Mr. Speaker, and that is what they would do again. Be in no doubt, that's what they love to do. You can feel the lust for tax rising off those benches opposite, Mr. Speaker, and that is why there's never been a Labour government that left office with unemployment lower than when they came in.
Mr. Wakeford.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Yesterday, the head of Ofgem advised MPs that the energy cap is due to increase to £2,800 in the autumn, more than double from last year. And I know the Prime Minister has been busy drafting and redrafting his half-assed apologies rather than helping the people of Bury South. But at which work event? Thank you, Mr. But at which work event did he realise Labour's call was the right thing to do, considering he and his party voted against it last week? Is it just to save his own neck?
Just a minute. I couldn't either hear the question or the advice I was being given. It might be helpful I could hear both. Prime Minister, did you manage to hear it?
Very much. Well, I heard enough, Mr. Speaker, to have a rough idea of the nonsense that he was talking. And what we're doing, Mr. Speaker, is not only supporting people now, but we will continue to put our arms around the people of this country as we did during the pandemic and beyond.
Can I just say, moderate language is what we normally use. I don't find it. It doesn't suit the chair, and I don't think it suits the country, so please. John Barron.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Prime Minister will recall I've previously raised with him the plight of 170 British Council contractors who remain in Afghanistan in fear of their lives, 85 of whom are deemed to be at very high risk. I met the Refugee Minister last week. It was a positive meeting, but we face bureaucracy which is preventing the FCDO from cutting through that bureaucracy and helping these people now, courtesy of the ACRS scheme. Will he help us cut through that red tape and help these people? We owe them a debt of obligation, and time is running out.
Well, I thank him very, very much. I'll see what we can do to help those particular people, but I just remind the House that we've not only evacuated 15,000 people under Op Pitting, which I think was a great credit to this country, we've supported since then 4,600 more have come to this country, and we'll do what we can to help the people that he mentions.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Jubilee Lead Academy in my constituency
working with Nottingham citizens, recently asked me to visit the school to hear about their low pay campaign. They're tired of seeing people in our community working hard but living in poverty, and now bills are rising, inflation's at 9%, and yet the government seems incapable and, frankly, a little disinterested in doing anything to help out. Mr. Speaker, our children can see the need for emergency action. Why can't our government?
Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, everybody in work, 30 million workers will get a tax cut in July, on top of everything that we're already doing. But that is not the end of what this government is going to do to look after people. And I've told the House before this afternoon, that we will continue to use our fiscal firepower to look after the British people through the COVID aftershocks and beyond.
Greg Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. On Monday at 3:25, a school bus crashed into a group of school children in Llanfachronion. 3 children were airlifted to hospital, with another child and the bus driver taken by ambulance, and a 5th child was discharged at the scene. Everyone is in a stable condition. Clearly, this is a tragic accident that will stay with the community for some time. Will the Prime Minister join me, and I'm sure the whole House, in sending our love and prayers to those in hospital? And will he also praise the teaching staff of both the primary and high school, the Welsh Air Ambulance, Dyfed Powys Police, for their heroic response and their continuing response to the community?
I thank my honourable friend for raising this very, very sad incident, and I'm sure the whole House, his thoughts, Mr. Speaker, will be with those who have been affected, and I want to join him in particular in paying tribute to the emergency services, but also, of course, the teachers and the staff of the school who did so much to help.
Tony Antoniazzi.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Prime Minister, my constituent Robert Walker sadly died last year. He worked for MI6 and as such disclosed in confidence that he was a gay man. This confidence was breached by the HR department at the Foreign Commonwealth Office. Recently unearthed paperwork showed that this breach largely accounted for his well-being and enforced early retirement. Would the Prime Minister offer Bob's partner, Stephen Honeyman, a posthumous apology and commit to ask the Foreign and Commonwealth Office for a formal response to his treatment while he worked at MI6?
Prime Minister.
Well, Mr. Speaker, I want to begin by saying how grateful I am to the honourable member for raising this case, but I have to tell her I'm afraid I don't know directly about the events that she describes. What she says is very concerning. I'll make sure that she gets a meeting with the relevant minister as soon as possible.
That ends Prime Minister's questions. For those who wish to leave. We now... Can I just say to the House, I expect moderate and temperate language. As we come to the statement, Prime Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. With permission, I will make a statement. I'm grateful to Sue Gray for her report today, and I want to thank her for the work that she's done. I also thank the Metropolitan Police for completing their investigation. And I want to begin today by renewing my apology to the House, to the whole country, for the short lunchtime gathering on the 19th of June 2020 in the Cabinet Room, during which I stood at my place at the Cabinet table and for which I received a fixed penalty notice. And I also want to say, Mr. Speaker, above all, that I take full responsibility for everything that took place on my watch. Sue Gray's report has emphasised that it is up to the political leadership in Number 10 to take ultimate responsibility, and, of course, I do. But since these investigations have now come to an end, this is my first opportunity to set out some of the context and to explain both my understanding of what happened and also to explain what I have previously said to this House. And it's important to set out that over a period of about 600 days, gatherings on a total of 8 dates have been found to be in breach of the regulations in a building that is 5,300 metres square across 5 floors, excluding the flats. Mr. Speaker, I do think it is important because this is the first time I've had to set out the context. Hundreds of staff are entitled to work. and in the Cabinet Office, which has thousands of officials and now is the biggest it's been in any point in its 100-year history. And that is in itself one of the reasons why the government is now looking for change and reform. Mr. Speaker, those staff working in Downing Street were permitted to continue attending their office for the purpose of work, and the exemption under the regulations applied to their work because of the nature of their jobs reporting directly to the Prime Minister. These people were working extremely long hours, doing their best to give this country the ability to fight the pandemic. Mr. Speaker, I appreciate that this is no mitigation, but it is important to set out
Prime
the
Minister,
context.
please, just one second. Can I just appeal to the House? I expect it to be heard, and I want everybody to hear it. And I want the same respect to be shown to the Leader of the Opposition afterwards. So please, this is a very, very important statement that the country wants to hear as well. Prime Minister.
Yeah, Mr. Speaker, I'm trying to set out the context, not to mitigate or to absolve myself in any way. The exemption under which they were present in Downing Street includes those circumstances where officials and advisers were leaving the government. And it was appropriate to recognise them, to thank them for the work that they have done. Let me come to that, Mr. Speaker. I briefly attended such gatherings to thank them for their service, which I believe is one of the essential duties of leadership, and particularly important when people need to feel that their contributions have been appreciated and to keep morale as high as possible. I'm trying to explain the reasons I was there, Mr. Speaker. And it's clear from what Sue Gray has had to say that some of these gatherings then went on far longer than was necessary. And they were clearly in breach of the rules, and they fell foul of the rules. I have to tell the House, because the House will need to know this, and again, this is not to mitigate or to extenuate, I had no knowledge of those subsequent proceedings because I simply wasn't there. And I have been as surprised and disappointed as anyone else in this House as the revelations have unfolded. And frankly, Mr. Speaker, I have been appalled by some of the behaviour, particularly in the treatment of the security and the cleaning staff. And I would like to apologise to those members of staff. And I expect anyone who behaved in that way to apologise to them as well. And I'm happy to set on the record now that when I said, I came to this House and said in all sincerity that the rules and guidance have been followed at all times, it was what I believed to be true. It was certainly the case when I was present at gatherings to wish staff farewell, and the House will note that my attendance at these moments, brief as it was, has not been found to be outside the rules. But clearly this was not the case for some of those gatherings after I had left, and at other gatherings when I was not even in the building. So I would like to correct the record, to take this opportunity, not in any sense to absolve myself of responsibility, which I take and have always taken, but simply to explain why I spoke as I did in this House. Mr. Speaker, in response to her interim report, Sue Gray acknowledges that very significant changes have already been enacted. She writes, and I quote, "I am pleased that progress is being made in addressing the issues I raised." And she adds, "Since my update, there have been changes to the organisation and management of Downing Street and the Cabinet Office with the aim of creating clearer lines of leadership and accountability, and now these need the chance and time to bed in." Number 10 now has its own permanent secretary charged with applying the highest standards of governance. There are now easier ways for staff to voice any worries, and Sue Gray welcomes that, and I quote, "Steps have since been taken to introduce more easily accessible means by which to raise concerns electronically, in person or online, including directly with the Permanent Secretary." The entire senior management has changed. There is a new Chief of Staff, an elected member of this House, who also commands the status of a Cabinet Minister. There is a new Director of Communications, a new Principal Private Secretary, and another of other key appointments in my office. I am confident with the changes and new structures that are now in place, that we are humbled by the experience, and we have learned our lesson. And I want to conclude by saying that Mr. Speaker, I am humbled and I have learned a lesson, Mr. Speaker. And I want to conclude by saying that whatever the failings of we'll come to that. And whatever the failings of Number 10 and the Cabinet Office throughout this very difficult period, and my own, for which I take full responsibility, I continue to believe that the civil servants and advisers in question, hundreds of them, thousands of them, some of whom, Mr. Speaker, are the very people who've received fines, are good, hard-working people, motivated by the highest calling to do the very best for our country. And I will always be proud of what they achieved, including procuring essential life-saving PPE, creating the biggest testing programme in Europe, and helping to enable the development and distribution of the vaccine which got this country through the worst pandemic of a century. And now, Mr. Speaker, we must get our country through the aftershocks of COVID with every ounce of ingenuity and compassion and hard work. So I hope that today, as well as learning the lessons from Sue Gray's report, which I'm glad I commissioned, and again, I repeat I'm grateful to her. I hope very much that now that she has reported, we will be able to move on and focus on the priorities of the British people, standing firm against Russian aggression, easing the hardship caused by the rising costs that people are facing, fulfilling our pledges to generate a high-wage, high-skill, high-employment economy that will unite and level up across the whole of our United Kingdom. That is my mission, that is our mission, that is the mission of the whole of the government, and we will work day and night to deliver it, and I commend this statement to the House.
We now come to the Leader of the Opposition, Keir Starmer.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The door of Number 10 Downing Street is one of the great symbols of our democracy. Those who live behind it exercise great power, but they do so knowing their stay is temporary. Long after they've gone, that door and the democracy it represents will remain firm and unyielding. But Britain's constitution is fragile. It relies on members of this House and the custodians of Number 10 behaving responsibly, honestly, and in the interests of the British people. When our leaders fall short of these standards, this House has to act. For months, members opposite have asked the country to wait. First, for the police investigation, which concluded that this Prime Minister is the first in our country's history to have broken the law in office. Then they asked the country to wait for the Sue Gray report. They need wait no longer. That report lays bare the rot that under this Prime Minister has spread in Number 10, and it provides definitive proof of how those within the building treated the sacrifices of the British people with utter contempt. When the dust settles and the anger subsides, this report will stand as a monument to the hubris and the arrogance of a government that believed it was one rule for them and another rule for everyone else. The details are stark. 5 months ago, the Prime